Welcome to Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It, the podcast where we dive deep into the journey from vision to reality. I'm Kelly Jackson, your guide on this path of self-discovery, transformation, and intentional living. Here, we explore everything from mindset shifts and personal growth to spiritual alignment and entrepreneurship, sharing insights, stories, and actionable wisdom to help you live a life in harmony with your dreams. Every episode will dig into what it means to not only dream big, but to actually consciously create the life you envision. Let's turn your dreams into real life. You might think triggers are your enemy, something to avoid or numb out or shove into the get over it drawer. But what if I told you triggers are actually your mind and body's most loyal guidepost? Welcome to the podcast, guys. They are signposts pointing you toward beliefs that need healing and boundaries that need defining and capacity that needs expanding. And today we're going to turn the most uncomfortable moments, those sudden rushes of anger or shame or fear, into opportunities for radical growth. By the end, you will see triggers not as saboteurs, but as sacred invitations to become more of who you truly are. Can I get a heck yeah? All right, let's get going. What triggers really are. Okay, a trigger is not a final verdict on your character. It is an energetic signal, and it indicates where you have stored past pain, limiting beliefs, or unmet needs. So rather than seeing triggers as failures, we're going to redefine them as teachers, showing us exactly where to focus our healing work. Guys, this episode is so powerful, and I know it's what you need to hear right now, okay? A trigger is a signal, not a punishment. When you feel tightness in your chest or your fist clench up, right? Or you have this surge of adrenaline, it's not because you're weak. It is because your nervous system just picked up a pattern. And that rush of emotion is a nudge to pay attention and not a reason to judge yourself, okay? So by shifting from shame to curiosity, instead of why is this happening to me, into what is this trying to teach me, you begin to transform triggers into moments of clarity. This work is such good work, guys. Triggers point to your internal landscape. Okay, your external reality, what you're experiencing right now in your external reality, it simply mirrors your internal programming. So if criticism from a colleague triggers you, well then ask, what inner critic am I still carrying? When did I first feel unworthy? Mapping these connections really is going to illuminate subconscious patterns that are begging for compassion and rewrite. And that's an important word here for everything that we're going to be talking about today is compassion. And also rewriting. We're going to be rewriting the narrative, the way we view triggers. Avoidance amplifies the trigger's hold. And this is what I mean by that. Scrolling or numbing out when you feel tense only strengthens those neural pathways. Each avoidance vote says, keep this wound in place. Okay, so when you're numbing out, when you're scrolling, when you're doing, and we talked about this in the last episode last week about finding ease in the chaos. And we talked about this. And so scrolling, numbing out, all the different ways that you can numb out. Okay, that's only strengthening those neural pathways. So every time you avoid, you are casting a vote that says, keep this wound in place, keep this wound in place. And that's probably not what you want. But that's what you're doing. And so instead, a regulated pause, like breathing, naming the emotion, grounding, this begins to weaken the trigger's grip and open space for new responses. Triggers really do show you where to direct your healing work. If there are certain situations that repeatedly provoke you, they are pointing exactly to where your next growth edge lies. Because that recurring sting is not random. It is the soul's cue to evolve. Honoring triggers reframes them from enemies into trusted guides. And I want you to hear that. Your trigger is not the enemy. Quit treating it like the enemy. Quit getting pissed off every time something triggers you. Guys, what I'm telling you is like, thank you. Thank you. It might not feel comfortable. You don't have to like it, but be grateful for it because it is a trusted guide. It is showing you exactly where to focus your next growth intentions for growth and expansion. When you stop fighting the triggers and you start listening to them, you unlocked a direct path to self-awareness and transformation. And those dark moments become your allies and actually light the way to deeper alignment and self-love and freedom. And I truly believe that we're all seeking a little more of those three things: alignment, self-love, and freedom. And this is one way to get there. Let's keep going. I want to talk a little bit about the biology of a trigger and why ancient wiring trips us up today, because y'all know I do love the science. I'm woo-woo. I ain't going to deny it, but I like the science. I really love the science. So we're always going to talk about that. Your nervous system evolved to keep you safe. Our nervous systems evolved to keep us safe from threats like predators and natural disasters. But guys, in modern life, that same survival response gets hijacked by today's stressors, like emails or social media drama or tight deadlines. And understanding the biological mechanics of triggers really can help us demystify the experience and regain control. Our bodies come pre-wired for survival, not success. And again, in ancient times, like a rustle in the bushes might have been a predator. Like that could have been a woolly mammoth, right? Your nervous system's alarm bell saved your life. Today, I don't even know, were woolly mammoths human predators? Were they even alive at the same time? Maybe I should know that, but I don't. But what I'm saying is this. I think woolly mammoths are cute. And so I just wanted to say woolly mammoth. Because like how often, honestly, in a conversation do you get to just say woolly mammoth? So that's why we said woolly mammoth. But anyway, today, that same system is flipping out over email alerts or a critical comment on your post. You have to understand why and how this happens, and that's the first step to reclaiming your calm. So, okay, ancient versus modern threats. So then, back then in ancient times, again, a sudden noise meant run or fight. True physical danger. Your body flooded with adrenaline to fuel escape. I mean, this was truly, it was a predator. Now, your brain can't tell the difference between a real tiger and a late notice for a Zoom call, okay? if it still triggers cortisol and a racing heart and sweaty palms, even though no physical danger exists. So you might be saying, well, I'm not in the jungle. Why should I care? Well, because the same stress drains your creativity and your immune system and your joy. So it's a mismatch between design and lifestyle, and it's one that keeps you stuck in fight or flight, which is why we really need to work on this. Okay. And again, because back in the day, a rustle in the bushes meant a predator, and your body flooded with adrenaline or cortisol to fuel fight or flight. Today, your amygdala still reacts to an angry email or a missed deadline as if it is life or death. And this mismatch keeps your system in chronic alarm, which is draining your creativity and joy. And look, let's just talk about the amygdala for just a little minute, in case you're like, I know I've heard of that, but like, what is the amygdala? Well, it is this roughly almond-shaped little mass of gray matter that's inside of each of your cerebral hemispheres, and it's involved with the experiencing of emotions. It's a small part of your brain, guys, but it has a really big job, and it's a major processing center for emotions, and it also links your emotions to many of the other of your brain's abilities, like memories and learning and your senses. So when it doesn't work like it's supposed to work, this really can contribute to disruptive feelings and symptoms. Okay. And so we're going to talk a little bit about something else that you maybe have heard of. Meet the vagus nerve. It's your built-in brake. Okay, the vagus nerve runs from your brain stem through your heart and lungs and digestive system. So it is the longest cranial nerve, and it goes from your brain stem down through your organs. Okay, and it's the main highway for the parasympathetic response, which is your rest and digest. And it's this major master switch between fight or flight and rest and digest. So when you stimulate it through slow, deep exhalations or gentle humming. Remember, we talked about this a little bit in 2 weeks ago in the Nervous System as Your Business Partner episode. Gave some things you could do to stimulate your vagus nerve. Splash cold water on your face, right? And when you activate your body's natural calming response, it lowers your heart rate and digestion, and it allows your rational brain to re-engage. When, again, you stimulate the vagus nerve through any of those modalities, through the slow extended exhales, the gentle humming, or the making the noise, the splash of the cold water, you activate your body's brake. That's kind of what it's like. It's like a brake, and it shifts you out of emergency mode. And maybe you've even said, well, I've heard of the vagus nerve, but it sounds technical. Well, guys, I want you to think of it as your internal calm coach. And every time you sigh deeply, you're giving your vagus nerve this signal that like, okay, it's okay to calm down. All right. It's okay to put the brakes on this fight or flight response. Now, all this to say this, chronic dysregulation looks like burnout, guys. If you are perpetually triggered, your body never gets a chance to rest, and you might experience anxiety or insomnia or digestive issues. Hello, gut health, right? Upset stomach, constipation, irritable bowel, all of the different things that can happen with our digestive system, reflux, all the things. Or even chronic pain. Guys, this is not just in your head. It's the biological cost of living in survival mode. And it's a real thing. Healing means giving your system regular opportunities to land back into safety. And I know that you know that that's what you need to be doing. I know that you know it. Practice rewires your neural pathways. So every time you respond to a trigger with regulation, which is pausing, breathing, grounding, you strengthen new neural networks. And over weeks and months, your body learns new habits. Guys, really it does. Less hijacking, more mastery. This is how you move from surviving triggers to thriving through them. Yes, it's possible. Yes, it's possible. Knowing the science removes shame and adds empowerment. You are not overreacting. You are wired for protection. And with consistent practice, you can retrain that wiring to support flow, creativity, and sustainable success. In other words, when you do get that little ding, a reminder that you got a deadline, your body's not going to feel like it's the woolly mammoth rustling in the bushes, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. So let's keep going. I want to talk a little bit about going from reaction to reflection and the high cost of denial. Reacting to triggers without reflection really keeps us stuck in loops. We're going to have a whole nother talk about loops one day. I think sooner than later, actually. But for now, we're just going to say it's going to keep us stuck in loops, emotional, behavioral, and energetic. If we deny or ignore triggers, they don't vanish, they fester. This little segment here is going to explore what happens when we refuse to face our triggers and why we do it and how to move from reactive hijacking to mindful self-coaching. Okay, I'm just going to say it. Ignoring triggers feeds the shadow. When you push a trigger down, when you pretend it didn't hurt, you're telling your nervous system that it's unsafe to feel. And that emotional charge then gets stored in your body, which leads to tension or chronic stress and even illness. Yes, it will manifest in your physical body as injury, illness, dis-ease. Denial might feel easier in the moment, but over time, it actually intensifies the trigger's power. Stop denying it. Stop denying it. If a trigger hurt you, okay, don't deny it. Don't pretend like it didn't hurt, but get curious. Why is that hurting me? What is that? What unhealed, unmet emotional need? Well, what is that? What is that rubbing on? Okay? Denial often masks the fear of feeling. So we deny triggers because feeling painful emotions can feel risky. And we fear that we will drown in grief or anger. Pardon me. But suppressed feelings always demand attention later. And often in bigger, louder ways that are harder to regulate. So courageous, that word was on the tip of my tongue, courageous reflection diffuses them early and prevents a cascade of reactions. I want you to think of response over reaction. Response over reaction, meaning we are going to choose to respond to triggers over reacting to them. Okay? And reacting, that's like knee jerk. That's just like I'm reacting without taking a beat, without taking a pause, without checking in. Responding, though, is when you acknowledge the trigger and you acknowledge how you're feeling, and then you take a beat to take a breath, to ground, to do whatever you got to do before you respond. It's a reaction if it happens knee jerk. It's a response if you give yourself a moment before. Reactive patterns cost you freedom. Because you're reacting on autopilot is what I'm saying, like snapping at a loved one, binge scrolling, overworking, all of these things. It feels out of control and it disconnects you from choice. Each reaction is a vote for old patterns, and it's limiting your capacity to respond from wisdom. Reflection rewrites those patterns. So you're really being called to reflect here. That's what this episode is all about. We are reflecting on our triggers. And this is an invitation moving forward for you to really allow yourself to get curious about your triggers and to stop reacting. Stuck growth equals stagnant energy. And this is what I mean. When we get stuck when we don't trust the process of transformation. We get stuck. You have to trust the process of transformation. Shame is going to keep us small. And self-judgment says, well, I shouldn't feel this way. But that only keeps your energy locked in negativity. Again, facing triggers with curiosity is going to liberate that energy and open space for your expansion. Self-shaming is self-sabotage. Stop judging yourself and saying, I shouldn't be triggered by this. Well, you are. You are. Something's triggering you. Quit shaming yourself for it. Get curious. And maybe you're like, well, I don't have time to process every little reaction. Guys, you don't need hours. Start with one deep breath and one clarifying question. The quality of your life depends on the quality of the questions you ask yourself. So even a 30-second pause rewires momentum from reaction to reflection. Okay, we don't want momentum in the direction of reaction. That's actually what we're actively working to put a halt to. And we want to shift that momentum in the direction of reflection, okay? When we refuse to see triggers as data, we really do lose the opportunity to evolve. Reflection turns triggers from hidden saboteurs into conscious guides. And that shift is the gateway to real, unstoppable growth. I want you to also use triggers as transformation tools. Yes, we're going to use triggers as teachers, and we're also going to use them as transformation tools. Once you pause and reflect, the next step is integration. Transforming trigger energy into personal power. Okay, that's what integration is. And I'm going to give you some concrete, holistic tools for turning those shadow moments into catalysts for change. First things first, journaling. Yes, journaling, scientifically proven time and time again for all of the benefits. I want you to use prompts like, this trigger shows me that I believe ... or behind this anger is the need for ... When you can start mapping these associations, it is going to shine the light on subconscious patterns, which is making them ready for healing. Okay? Another thing is somatic releases. So spatial pressure, stretching, vocal toning. Again, we talked about this 2 weeks ago in the nervous system episode. Sighs, hums. This helps your body move stuck emotions, and since triggers live in your tissue, quite literally, letting them flow physically accelerates relief and integration. Okay? You got to move your body. You got to move your body. This is why we shake. This is why we dance. This is one of the things when I teach those, feminine energy dance workshops, that's what we're there to do, is move stagnant energy. And like the lower chakras and everything, we're opening that up and we're unblocking them. And it's so good. Guys, somatic releases. This is an important part of your lifestyle. If it hasn't been, it's starting from today, it's going to be, okay? Another thing, affirmations and reframes. So if we can craft an empowering statement that counters the trigger's old story, that's what we want to do. So for instance, I am safe to receive, or I trust my voice. Okay. Repeating these during discomfort shifts your neural response over time. I've shared with y'all before. I use this, and again now with the EFT, the emotional freedom tapping technique, and you can use these. You can use the tapping on the top of your head, the sides of your body, your chest, the sides of the palm of your hand. There's different places you can do the EFT, and letting your nervous system know, I'm safe to receive, I am protected, I'm safe to use my voice, I trust my voice, right? All of these things, or any statements, empowering statements that are going to counter your trigger's old story. I can't give all the examples here because I don't know what your triggers are, but I'm giving you some guidance, right? So you can move in this direction. Another thing would be like completion rituals, which would be writing the trigger statement on paper and then tearing it or safely burning it. And this symbolizes release. Some people this works for. Some people are like, nah, that's not for me. And wherever you fall on that scale, that's fine. I'm just sharing things that work for me. And you can follow this with a grounding practice like nature or breath or tea or something like that. Rituals really do provide psychological closure. Like if you've ever done a cord cutting ritual, some of your triggers, they might call for that. If you haven't done it before, look it up. Cord cutting. I won't get into it here, but I will mention it. Now, transformation happens when triggers become prompts for active healing work. So these tools are not band-aids, guys. They are bridges from pain to possibility. And there is deep support available in Self-Love Uni and my other one-on-one coaching containers where I'm going to guide you step by step and support you without judgment, because trust me, there ain't no amount of messy that could scare me. If you have seen or know what I have gone through, the depths of what I have seen and experienced, then you will know there is not any amount of messy or a crazy, because that's what some people like to call it, that could scare me away. It's actually pretty exciting, because I know if you are experiencing those depths that you are just setting yourself up for euphoria, ecstasy, like the best of the best. So again, it don't scare me. Let's keep going. Expanded co-regulation and safe space strategies. Okay, I think this is important because we're not meant to heal alone. Co-regulation, it's like sharing your energy field with a calmer presence, can instantly shift your state. And what if you're not into dogs though, or crowds, or even typical social settings? So we're going to broaden what co-regulation can look like for everyone, because sometimes they'll say, oh, a pet a dog. Oh, that's great for co-regulation. And you know what? I know this. Not everybody's a dog person. And guess what? That's okay. There is no shame on you if you're not a dog person, if you're not a cat person. I know sometimes people will try to make other people feel shame on you for not loving dogs as much as I do. Guys, no, there's no shame on anybody. Not everybody's a dog person. Not everybody's a cat person. Not everybody's an animal person. They're just not. And there is literally nothing wrong with that. Okay? So don't feel shame for not being an animal person. That doesn't mean you're not a good person. Okay. And I know typically, sometimes you can feel that way. Sometimes people, I've seen it, I've witnessed it, I've experienced it myself. People can try to make you feel like there's something wrong with you if you don't just love and want 50 dogs. There ain't nothing wrong with you. It's okay, friends. It's okay. Now, so what if you're not into dogs or crowds or all these typical social settings? So I really do want to broaden what co-regulation looks like. So this is for everyone. Okay. There's human co-regulation beyond talk therapy. And this could be a trusted friend, a coach, a mentor, or someone who listens deeply without advice can calm your system. It's the safety of being seen. And look, if traditional therapy doesn't fit, you could try a healing circle or like one-on-one breath work call or a vocal toning session with a guide. I went to one of those EFT workshops. That's where, when I just mentioned, that's where I learned about that. So there are things you can do, okay? There are non-human allies like nature and the elements. So there's forest bathing, ocean sounds, even house plants, guys, can help you co-regulate. If animals aren't your thing, that's okay. Try earthing, right? Which is like your bare feet on the grass. Try sun gazing for a few minutes, looking into the sun, not at the brightest hour of the day, but without sunglasses and looking into the sun. Or candle gazing, right? All these things can activate your parasympathetic system. Or looking into a fire. Some of you may have intuitively done that before without even realizing it, okay? That can activate your parasympathetic system. And for those of you who do love animals, petting a dog or a cat or just snuggling or something, that can help you co-regulate. There's also creative co-regulation like art and music and dance. So vulnerable art making, free dance, ecstatic dance, curated playlist even can mirror and shift your state. And so when you move or create alongside a supportive community, even if it's virtually, your system learns new rhythms of safety and expression. And this is what we want. Okay. There's also like somatic soundscapes and breath circles. So you could join a group breath circle or a sound bath. Have you ever done that? You could be either live or online, like a virtual one. These are collective resonance experiences that teach your nervous system new coherence patterns. And even a solo guided breath track or by those binaural, how do you say that word? The binaural beats, that can be a co-regulator. Digital co-regulation is a thing too, like intentional online circles. You could create or join, if you're not into creating it yourself, a private group that's dedicated to like daily check-ins or energy shares. It could be text or voice notes, maybe some brief live calls that act as these little micro co-regulation sessions. Keep in mind that digital doesn't mean detached if you build a sacred connection. It actually, allows us to connect with even more people on a deeper level because we can reach people all around the world. It's actually pretty amazing. And look, another co-regulation is with human. I know I'm going to give you an example. Recently had a situation with one of my daughters where there was something that, a big event that she was feeling some anxiety towards. It was a graduation and getting up in front of everyone. And it was really something that she was feeling. I mean, you could tell. And she worked herself up about it in the weeks leading up to the event, and we kept working on it. And then when we actually arrived, it set in. It was her, she was getting in her head about it, and it was physically affecting her. And it was kind of like you could just see the feelings of anxiety taking over, and she was kind of losing touch of the present moment and overthinking all of the what if spiral of like all of these thoughts that were making her feel the anxiety. And this is a moment when co-regulation can help. This is a moment when I can recognize that and be like, okay, let me give you a hug. Let's breathe together. And sometimes when someone's just like, it's just, let's take that moment and let's come together, and you can embrace and you can feel the other person's heart rate starting to calm yours down and breathe with them. And I'm sure you've maybe either been on the giving or receiving end of a co-regulation like that, where someone has consoled you and their calm state has helped you find your calm, or vice versa. And so I'm just reminding you, this is what we're talking about, guys. Co-regulation is about shared safety, and however that looks for you, whether it's humans or nature or creativity or sound, find your allies. And if you want a ready-made, deeply supportive container, Self-Love Uni is here to hold you. Now, we have journeyed from understanding triggers and biology to practical transformation tools and co-regulation strategies. Now, let's distill it into 3 to 4 concrete actions that you can start today and explore how deeper support can really accelerate your growth. First, a daily trigger check-in. Just set a gentle reminder to pause once a day, guys, once a day. Notice one trigger that arose and apply one regulation tool, whether that's breath, journaling, or like a brief somatic release. And get in the habit, get in the practice. One trigger a day, just notice it, okay? It's compounding. It's making a difference. Then I want you to curate, we're going to call it a regulation kit. I want you to assemble a quick access resources. So this is your go-to playlist that you have curated for this exact moment. It's some sort of grounding object. Like, for me, I love crystals. Like, you may have a crystal, something you like to hold in your hand. I mean, that's just the first thing that came to my mind, right? Or some other sort of like talisman or something. A journaling template. So maybe just some sort of question you ask yourself. Again, I just gave you that example just a minute ago. And then a trusted accountability partner's number. Okay, this is part of your regulation kit. So you got your go-to playlist, some sort of grounding object, a journaling template, a little question you're going to ask yourself, and then a trusted accountability partner's number. That's your regulation kit. For when you need it, it's right there. You don't have to think about it. You just know. And that alone, knowing that you have this, knowing there's power in planning, knowing that you have prepared this ahead of time, because guys, this is life. I mean, I know I'm over here like, live your best life, authentic, fulfilled, and joyful and happy. And yes, and I am all those things. But that does not mean, again, that I'm not triggered, that things never happen, that I don't have, life ebbs and flows. There are ups and downs. Like, that's what makes it life. Okay. But when you have these tools in place and you know how to integrate, you're setting yourself up for success. And you really, again, going back to last week, you're living in more of a state of flow. Okay. Third, I want you to pair up for co-regulation. So I want you to choose a friend or coach for weekly co-regulation calls. This could be 5 to 10 minutes of breath or energy check-ins or whatever it needs to be to keep your system anchored. Okay. And number 4, invest in structured support. If you are ready to move beyond DIY, explore working with me. There's a time and a place for DIY. I ain't knocking it. I did the DIY thing for a long time. Do you know I had a home yoga practice for 6.5 years before I ever went to a yoga studio? And then the growth and expansion I've experienced since joining that yoga studio, it's like mind-blowing. Okay. But that whole 6.5 years of my home practice leading up to it was very important. So I'm not knocking the DIY thing, guys. I'm not. But what I am saying is, if you're ready to move beyond the DIY portion of your journey, explore working with me. Inside of Self-Love Uni or private coaching, we map your unique pattern and embed these practices deeply and co-create sustainable ease and flow and aligned leadership. Guys, triggers are your most honest guides, and when you learn to walk with them, you unlock your fullest expression. You deserve a life where your nervous system is your greatest ally, not the one over there sabotaging you every moment opportunity it gets. If you are ready to step into that new reality, I will be honored to support you in my coaching containers. I'm going to put the details in show notes. Join me. I will see you inside. Until next time, keep listening, keep regulating, keep real life in it. I love you guys. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It. I hope today's episode sparked something powerful within you. Remember, every step you take towards your vision counts, no matter how small. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please take a second to hit that subscribe button or leave a review. That would be amazing. Or share the podcast with someone who's ready to bring their dreams into reality too. And if you're looking to dive deeper, connect with me on social media at Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It, or at BE_what you want. Or visit dreameditthenreallifedit.us for more resources on aligning your life, business, and dreams. Until next time, keep dreaming and keep manifesting your dreams into real life. Love you, friends.